Hi guys. I don't know what the audio is like, but I'm here in the conservatory and it's cold and wet. I think I'm going to put this back on. I think what I might do is try my new audio microphone. Cheers. This is my morning cup of tea. Oh, that's so nice. Okay, guys. Now I'm back at home. If I show you the place, you'll see that it's not exactly a billionaire's mansion, but for me, this house and the land is worth more than $1 million. You feel like a millionaire. One of these days, I'll show you the house. It's a large house with a thatched roof, 6 acres, 6.5 acres of land, outbuildings, 3 ponds, and stables, 5 stables. And it's ridiculous the prices they're asking. We bought this place 7 years ago, and they're asking for less. Oh, the housing market is really low at the moment. It's really cool. It's really cold. It's really cool at the moment. And yet, when I go and try and find the place, the prices are expensive. So I'm either being conned here, we are being conned, or I don't know. I think if I live on my own, it's difficult to look after a house like this, and also very expensive. The insurance on this house, just the insurance, is £4,500 because it's a Grade 2 listed building. So it's just too much. And when I bought this house, I didn't know that the insurance was so high. If I knew, that's kind of the last thing that we got surveyors to look at the land, looked inside, any damages, in the loft. But I didn't think of insurance. Like our house, our terraced house in London, how much was it? It was about £300 a year. Okay, that was about 10 years ago, whatever, but still. And because my dad was a pensioner, maybe it was a reduced. No, the insurance is the same, isn't it? They don't reduce that. It's council tax and things like that. So from £300 a year to £4,500. Like, we've got it down to about £3,000 or £3,500. And for a long time, to be honest, we didn't pay insurance, house insurance. And if you go for a certain period, like for a few years, you don't pay insurance. Then when you try to get insurance, it's difficult to get insurance because they're wondering, how comes this house hasn't been insured? Is there a problem? And so then you need to have, I don't know, not engineers, but electric company to come and check if all the, I don't know, the electrical system, the wires are okay before they can actually insure it. So it's actually a hassle trying to get insured, that your house insured, if you haven't had it insured for a while. Well, it seems to be like this anyway. Oh, I can hear it raining. This room is a bit damp because my wife's got the clothes there. Because usually there's sun in this room, but she really needs one of those tumble dryers. But yeah, I was thinking of getting dehumidifiers for the house, but again, that's an expense. But I've been thinking, I've got a really good idea. Instead of dehumidifier, what you do is, the ash, when we burn some wood, you just use that ash. that ash has multiple purposes. Like when in the corridor when I'm cleaning the pee, the poo head doesn't have to be clean because it's dry, but the pee you have to use like fairy liquid or some kind of soap to wash it away. But if you use clean hot water first and then you use ash, ash acts like it creates suds, a lava, and no smell. Also, if you have to take things off, like if you, in the oven you've got a panel that's burnt, lots of burnt food, and it's difficult to take off to scrub off with like fairy liquid or some, not fairy liquids, some washing up liquid. Instead of using chemicals, you put ash. Once you put ash in, it's easy to wash, and that's what people used to use in the past. My I remember my mum and dad told me that they used to Landiki, or the ancients, or people of the past, they used to use, because in Sicily you have lots of almonds, and once you break the shell, you take the kernel out, the nut. You've got no use for the outside of the almond, the shell. So what they used to do is burn those shells until they could get a white or grey ash, and that ash they used to use to wash clothes or wash their hands. And my dad said, "Yeah, it's great." And you see, there's no chemicals inside; it's just ash. Especially if you burn it to almost white, really, really light, then there's no, like, that carbon is all burnt off. You don't have the black, because obviously if you're trying to wash clothes, it's going to become all black, isn't it? So it has to be, I assume it has to be washed to white or to grey to really, really to burn off all that carbon. But it is true. So instead of using dehumidifiers, which are great if you have the money, but the poor man's dehumidifier is a bowl of ash in every room, and that's going to suck the water. Within a few days, you'll see that ash is so damp, because if you think about it, fire is very yang, very, very yang. It's very, very hot. So the ash is also very hot. It's very yang, and the water is yin. So once you have something hot, super dry and hot, it will absorb the moisture, which is yin, within it, and so it's a good idea. It's very cheap. I mean, you instead of throwing the ash away, you can put that ash to use, and it will absorb the moisture in the rooms. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a few bowls. I have to make sure the ash doesn't blow around in the room, like when we open the windows. So maybe put a little net on top of it. But I'll see. If it works, I'll tell you guys. So there's a cheap way, free way of, avoiding or trying to avoid mold. And also, if you get the ash and you put it on the mold, wherever the mold is, it will kill the mold. It's easy to clean off. So ash does have some healing properties and bacteria mold killing properties. It's got, is it hydroponic or hydro? I forgot the word. Anyway, hydro or water absorbing qualities, of course, because it's super yang, super dry, and it will absorb into itself the yin, or water, or dampness. And if you apply on mold, I think it will kill the mold as well. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it will. So there you have it. That's I think it's raining now and a bit miserable, but as long as I'm warm, I've got this, so my hands are warm, so I don't get that Raynaud's. Oh, that reminds me, I'm going to cook some ginger tea today. And later in the day, I'm going to get some chili and just make some meat and vegetables. So I keep my circulation going. I'd like to do some sprinting, but the thing is, when I try sprinting and I end up damaging myself, so I have to warm up a little bit and then do, because sprints are like HIIT or HIT, high intensity interval training. So high intensity interval training, which means you don't do it all the time. You do it a few times a week. Like some people say, well, I'll do it Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. That's not, well, it is interval training, but what I'd say to do is not hit, but I'd say I would do, so instead of high intensity, I would say, is the H I would replace with M, maximal intensity. Interval training, yes, but that interval training, I would shock the body into new growth. So in the 70s or 80s, the 70s, I used to read these magazines, these bodybuilding magazines, and you'd have these bodybuilders talk about muscle growth, and so you can actually stimulate muscle growth, stubborn muscle growth, by shocking it. The way you shock it is to change up your routine, change up days, change up the days you train, change up the diet, switch the diet. So basically your body doesn't know if it's coming or going, and that will inspire new growth of muscle. So I think it helps in other ways. It helps your body in other ways, not just building muscle. Building muscle is important as you age. I think after the age of 30 or 35, sarcopenia starts to set in. Sarcopenia is age-related muscle wasting. And I haven't really found that. I don't do any exercise, but I haven't really found that. But my left quadricep, the leg here, I found there's a line there. It's like some muscle has been. It's weird when I bend, I see a really defined line. I haven't been doing any exercises or anything. I haven't lost any weight, so I assume that's a kind of sarcopenia. And when you look at your legs, you think, oh, I'm 60, I'm 70 years old, my legs still look quite big, the same as when I was 20. I'm not losing any muscle. No, you are losing muscle, because if you took a cross section of that leg when you're in your 20s, the skin is here, and then you have all the meat there, and a tiny bit of fat here, tiny bit. In your 60s or 70s, you haven't done any exercise. The size is the same, the skin is here, the muscle is kind of here, but it's got loads of fat everywhere. It's full of fat. And so that fat causes problems, metabolic problems, can cause problems with, if I'm not mistaken, diabetes and other problems. So you need to burn that fat off from that muscle and keep it lean. It's like when you're in your 70s, if they cut a piece of your leg, it would look like that Wagyu or ribeye steak with lots of fat inside. Whereas in your 20s, if you sliced a bit of that leg, it might look like I don't know, a really lean piece of meat with absolutely no fat at all, like a piece of salmon or a red salmon or something. So even though you feel, oh yeah, I'm quite big, it's full of fat, so it's okay. It doesn't really matter, but it does matter if you want to live a long life. So I saw a video, was it the other day, of this guy talking about divorce, and his friend passed away, and his friend was quite healthy, and I'm not sure if he was a vegan or whatever, but he said, my friend, he just passed away and he was super healthy. And like the vibe was like, if he can go, anyone can go. And so it made him think about his own life, his own health, And the problem with that is, if you think that, oh wow, this person was so healthy, if he can pass away and he's so healthy, what's the point in trying? You know, what's the point? That's a massive mistake. What's that? That's a massive mistake. Why? Because you don't know everything that person was doing. So in this case, the man was talking about another friend. I assume it was another man. I assume he went to the gym. He probably saw him go to the gym. I assume he ate healthy, which is maybe Diet Coke, I don't know, brown bread, some meat, some salmon, some vegetables. I don't know. I just don't know. Maybe he took protein powder, and he seemed quite positive. That's not enough. That's not enough. You don't know the person's life. Their first of all, their genetic predisposition. Genetically, did that person have certain genes that would predispose that person to heart disease or certain types of cancer? Well, we just don't know, do we? So that's the bed, Sally. You're not going to pee, are you? Sit down. So, but also, like I've mentioned in the past, the hallmarks of health and healing are, I've got it down to about 8 to 10. So in order to sit down, not in order to sit down, Sally's just going round and round. I think she just wants to do a pee. I have to take her out soon. So you can't just look at diet. And if you do look at diet is a very difficult one. Very difficult one. I think unless you do an extreme diet, and even when you do an extreme diet, you have to be careful. Like if you do the carnivore diet, for example, this guy died of cancer, right? And I was supposed to see my daughter the other day, but she went to a funeral of a lady, one of her mum's friends, and she died of cancer as well. And she was a vegan, a raw vegan. She used to go to Sweden, have these, go to saunas and like health retreats and things. She was a black lady, really tall. And I think she was part of, was it Adventists? The Adventists, because they're really healthy and stuff. But again, my daughter said that if she could die, what about us? All of us can die. And that's the mistake. I was trying to explain to my daughter about my theory. It's not my theory, it's things that I just picked up. My pillars of health and healing. Okay, so one of the pillars is the one that we all know, diet. And it's such a complicated one, this one. Then here, the second one, maybe exercise. The third one is sleep. That's really important. So the fourth one is hormetic activity or hormetic stress, heat, cold. There's various types of hormetic activity or hormetic training or stress. So then here you have supplements. And another pillar would be herbs. Another pillar here would be what I call mind 1, and another pillar here would be mind 2. Mind 1 is focusing on things like positive thinking, affirmations, setting goals, being optimistic, looking at, I don't know if you watch YouTube or the television or whatever, looking at things that are really positive, really happy, and really healthy, things that are really, that can help you with your health. A positive outlook on life and making positive goals. So thinking about this success thinking, basically. But mind 2, so that's the yang of the mind. Mind 2 would be the yin. So relaxing yourself, doing Tai Chi, doing Qigong, doing some Qigong, which is just like, I don't know, it's like diverting traffic and using your breath in a certain way. Sometimes it doesn't matter. Some people might say that's not the right way to do qigong because your hands are all wrong and knees are up high. No, you have to think about what happens internally with your breath. You might when you put your hand like this, it looks all nice and glossy, but your breath might be completely wrong. Or you can do this, and your breath could be completely right, but this doesn't look so cool. So there's qigong, there's having a hot bath, there's having a nice massage, not sexual one, just a nice massage to relax you. So mine too would be the relaxation, the sympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic nervous system activation, because that's unbelievably important. Sleep is really important, but actually during the day, relaxing yourself as you age is very important. So for certain aging markers, certain biological clocks, I think 25 or 30% of the markers use our relaxation response, because it affects many areas of our biology that make us age. Or make us age faster, or potentially give rise to life-threatening illnesses and diseases. Oh. So what I was trying to explain to my daughter are these pillars of health and healing. There are many, about 8 to 10, maybe 8 to 10. I've just said a few. If you implement all of these, then I think you stand a better chance. So were these people really healthy? Were they really doing their best? And sometimes it's just luck, isn't it? Some people say, oh, you can do everything, it's just luck. Well, were those people really doing everything? What supplements were they taking? What other lifestyle factors were involved? Maybe the person might look healthy and might not be sleeping because he's stressed out over debt and worry and stuff like that. Maybe you don't see that person all the time, and a person might have a few fags, might drink alcohol, some whiskey or whatever, I don't know. And so you don't really know unless you're with the person 24/7, and then you can see exactly what's happening. Do they live in a moldy environment? Do they live in a toxic environment? Because it all counts, doesn't it? Even the clothes that we wear, that are not natural, that they're made of synthetic material, does affect the body. If you're drinking tap water, you're washing yourself with tap water, you're absorbing chlorine or whatever, so many chemicals. If you're using Evian plastic water, I'm going to drink through that, drink that because it's healthy, right? I'm going to drink through ceramic cups, eat on ceramic plates. You're ingesting heavy metals. Antimony is one of them, and that's not good. If you take a hair sample and send it off, you'll see, arsenic, antimony, aluminium, maybe lead, mercury. So the person might have been eating lots of fish. If you eat bigger fish like tuna, swordfish, there's lots of mercury inside there. So these heavy metals accumulate in your body, in your brain, and in order to, I think, to help ourselves, we have to take a look at everything that we do in our lives. The way we think, the way we even the way we think. You can have toxic thinking as well, and that affects. Everything is interrelated. That's what I'm trying to say. And so this guy that was talking about his friend, he was super healthy. Well, I mean, in my heart and mind, I say R.I.P. Rest in peace to your friend, and rest in peace to the lady that passed away, the black lady who loved Swedish things. I feel so sad. But then again, some of the food that she was eating, she was a vegan, but she was eating processed food. So in the processed food, for example, you have, I think it's carrageenan, in the milks and things like that, and that's cancer promoting. It's been shown or suggested that it is cancer promoting, breast cancer promoting. She had breast cancer. Correlation doesn't mean causation. So just because she had carrageenan or whatever, or she smoked fags or what, I'm not saying she did, it doesn't mean it's going to cause cancer. But it could be one of many factors that were involved in the cancer. Who knows? If you take those things away, then I'm a chicken. I would say, oh, okay, well, if this carrageenan or whatever can cause cancer, I'm not drinking it. I don't care. I'm not going to have any of that milk. So the processed food, like the vegan processed food, like you have oat milk, you have almond milk, you have all these milks. They're in cartons. Those cartons are chemicals. Inside the carton itself, it's got a lining. That's a chemical that you're drinking. If you cut the carton, it's got aluminium inside, and then it's got cardboard. I mean, a plethora of drugs or of toxins that your body's taking in all the time. But you're healthy, aren't you? Oh, vegan. The vegan meat, the vegan ham, right? I checked on the back. What has it got? And one of the ingredients to make it red, to make it look like ham, is it iron oxide, rust. So basically, you're putting rust inside. It probably would look grey if you didn't add anything red. Why can't they just use beetroot juice or something? Iron oxide. I'm assuming that's rust, right? Iron oxide. So I wonder what that's doing to your body, because iron is not good. Too much iron. Iron is implicated in, I'm not sure whether it's heme iron or another type of iron. It's implicated in dementia and cancer. So you've got that. So all processed foods are bad, whether they're vegan ones or, people who eat a normal diet, omnivorous diet or carnivore diet. Anything that's processed has to be preserved with something. And all processed foods are really bad when it comes to histamine intolerance, because bacteria increases all the time. Histamine increases all the time. So whatever food you have that's been processed, that's been left there, to accumulate histamine, is going to be bad. Is it bad if you don't have a histamine problem? Who knows? Maybe it still is bad. Just because you can metabolize, you've got DAO or diamine oxidase, it doesn't mean maybe it's still not good. I don't know. Maybe certain good aspects of some food maybe counter the bad. For example, sauerkraut, it has good probiotics, and these can populate the gut, and they're healthy. But does the high histamine, is it worth the high histamine? Not for somebody who's got histamine problems, but for people who don't have histamine problems, is it still a bad thing? So that's a good question. I haven't studied that. I haven't looked into any studies, but I wonder, is that sauerkraut, is that kimchi really good for you? It's very high in salt, which is not a problem if you're on a kind of low carbohydrate diet, because your kidneys are flushing salt and electrolytes anyway. And so you need to replenish. You do need to replenish salt. And it won't affect your blood. It shouldn't affect blood pressure because you're not accumulating salt. I don't know. So, so I feel sad for those two people. One man, I assume, and one woman I know, passed away of cancer, and they were very, very healthy. sometimes, well, I've read when I was in China, some ancient like scriptures or texts, and there's one. He's an immortal. I'm not sure if he was a historical person or like it's a myth, a mythical person. Peng Zu. Peng Zu. He mentioned. He said something like healthy people can't achieve longevity, and what or something like that. And what that kind of means to me is that if you're healthy, you don't have any problems. You go through life not thinking about health. You think, well, I don't have to exercise. I'm all right. I don't have to stop smoking. I'm all right. So if you're blessed with being healthy, considerably healthy, you think you can do anything. And then once bad health arrives, you're shocked, and your body's in shock, and you can like deteriorate really quickly. You would have thought, oh, you've got all the reserves, but no. I think what he actually meant was, if a person is sick, then they realize they're sick and they look after themselves more. So if you have a few diseases or disease processes going on, you care about what you eat. You do some exercise. You care about like relaxing your body and mind and soul. You pray more maybe. And so you do the things that will stop you from dying, hopefully, and will keep you alive. Whereas when you're healthy, you don't care about anything. Like when you're young, when you're 10, 15, 20 years of age, like you're immortal. You don't care about anything. Do drugs. You can do drugs if you want. Oh, come on, have some weed, have a spliff. It's all right. Drink alcohol, go to the pub, have lots of partners. You think, yeah, death is like a long way away, like 100 years. I don't give a shit about anything. And you feel immortal. And that's dangerous, that's dangerous. Whereas if you have a disease, you've got arthritis, and if you're not negative, if you're optimistic and say, I can beat this, and then you start to implement diet, lifestyle changes, exercise. Some people say, I've got arthritis and it's never been healed at all. You can't heal arthritis. Well, how about putting it into remission? I've heard of stories of people who have gone onto a diet. Okay, and there are actual scans and x-rays that show the reversal of arthritis. How can you go against that once you see that? Like in the 1970s, there was a book of this, I think it was Canadian or French doctor, and basically told people to eat raw fruits and vegetables and meats, eggs. It's just a very, very, very clean diet. It's not. It's like a keto kind of diet, but with raw fruits and veg, because of the enzymes or whatever. So it's like a carnivore diet. Here you have the meat, like a keto diet, like you've got some good fats, and a kind of raw vegan diet, all fruits and vegetables. And there was an x-ray of a person who had terrible neck arthritis, and he was dizzy and he kept falling, this man in his 70s. After 3 months on this diet, they did an x-ray, and you can't really see well, because x-rays you have to look, you have to understand them, unless it's completely broken or something. But you can see the spurs and all those things, or whatever it is, you can see arrows pointing, and they were gone. They were bloody gone. Another person had a problem with the hip, and you can see the problem, the arthritis, after 6 months, I think, gone, due to his diet. And I'm not saying maybe it might not work for everyone. Like for me, I can't eat lots of fruits and raw fruits and vegetables. My histamine will go through the roof. But yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? That just through diet, and he got people to to use lots of cod liver oil as well. So this is back in the 1970s. I don't know the book. I have to find it. Once I changed to my the new house. So I think with my pillars of health and healing, once I establish it properly and actually do it myself, because you know when you're busy making videos, you can't do anything else. Actually, I'm going to do some videos with their toys soon, and get my microphone, put it on, so I don't have to shout, you know, because the camera is there. But if the camera is there and I've got the microphone, it's as if the camera is here, so I can speak like this, and you know it takes less out of me. You know, it's more relaxing, and you can actually hear me. But this way, I have to actually speak a bit louder because the microphone is over there. It's about a meter away. So anyway, cheers. Have a nice day. Hopefully where you guys live, it's nice and sunny. Yeah, so I don't know if I can tell this camera to stop. Let me see if it works. Stop. No, that doesn't work. Because when you say record, it actually starts to record. Oh, hang on, let me see. Stop record. No, okay. Record. Nothing. I have to actually physically go over there. So I have to switch you guys off now. See you guys in the next video. Bye. Take care, okay? Bye.